And some introductions. My name is Preston Merchant. I'm the Communications Officer for San Mateo County Health. We are the health department of the county. I'll introduce two of my colleagues here, or three of my colleagues here, and then I'll talk a little bit about the purpose of this meeting, what we hope to accomplish. And then we'll be in a good position to answer your questions about our RFP for developing a new website for the health department. Shrija Srinivasan is the Deputy Director of County Health. Shrija, could you say a few words about your work?
Sure. Thanks everybody for joining us this afternoon, and it's good to see you all. As Deputy Chief of County Health, I oversee the parts of us that are responsible for public health, the regulatory protections, the prevention services, the programs that strive to help protect the health of the 780,000 residents of the county, and also some of the safety net services we provide. As the local health department, a lot of what we do carries out functions that the federal and state government ask us to carry out on their behalf. But we also have had the good fortune and history of a lot of investment and interest by our County Board of Supervisors in innovative public health programs, early intervention programs, locally tailored solutions to the problems and opportunities our residents have. And I can pass the baton to Heather.
Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm Heather Forchi, the Director of Environmental Health Services. And for those of you who aren't familiar with environmental health services, our focus and our efforts are generally geared towards businesses that operate in San Mateo County and that are required to have regulatory oversight. Our landing page is smchealth.org/EH, and there is an environmental health department in every county in the state, and in I believe every county of every state in the country. And we're a little bit different from the other divisions in health in that our focus isn't person-oriented per se, as much as it is creating an interface for businesses to submit documentation, permit applications, get information so that they can comply with, all sorts of things. There are a couple of other features, as you can see, and when you bounce around our website, that include information to the public. But our most famous program is our retail food inspection program. Everybody knows about those food inspectors and those placards, but that's just one of many programs that we have. We operate in a very diverse landscape, from a regulatory perspective. But we are for the most part, with a couple of exceptions, largely a regulatory entity. So that's it in a quick nutshell.
And Elizabeth?
Hey everyone. Yeah, my name is Elizabeth Sakris. I am the communication specialist supporting San Mateo County Health Divisions. I also oversee our website and will be the project lead for this RFP.
So before we get started, one housekeeping note. If you could all in the chat give your name, the name of your firm, and your email address, that way we'll have a record if there is a need for follow-up materials, all of that. So we'll have that in the chat. The purpose of this meeting is for us to share more information about our needs, our organization, our dynamics, our goals. You all are here, of course, because you've read the RFP and your firm may wish to apply for that, respond to that. So we'd like to clarify anything we can, share any sorts of details. If there's anything that we can't come up with in this meeting, we're happy to, of course, follow up later. It's not the time to pitch your services or to offer examples or links to your, I'm sure, very accomplished projects that you've worked on in the past. There'll be a time for that. We are going to follow the RFP process with the county. And after this meeting, there's the opportunity for everyone to submit the proposals, and then it would take off from there. So now is the time for us to respond to your questions. And if you have them, please raise your hand and I'll facilitate our answers. Yes. Robin.
I was looking for the hand raise button. I realized I could just physically raise my hand. Hi, I'm with CIT. We're a global consulting firm based in the Bay Area. And one of the questions we had for the RFP is, talks about running an audit and a lot about migration, but not about redesigning. And so we're curious, when you look at this from not just a visual look and feel perspective, but also the architecture of the site itself, is that something that is on the table, or is it really just, we want to keep things, mostly how they are and migrate to a new instance?
We do not want to keep things as they are, and it's not a migration project. We are really seeking to build a new website based on the processes that we described there in the scope of work, the needs assessment and the meetings with all of our user groups, a brand new website, and more focused on the services that we deliver and the needs and interests of the public, and less on a sort of county org chart, which is how these things tend to evolve. So yeah, we're starting afresh. And that big part there, the needs assessment and discovery piece, is really where we would begin to understand the scope of what we wanted to do, what it could look like. We do want there to be some consistency for the user experience across all of the different content areas of the website, but that's all open and something Perfect. That we would need help on.
Just always love to clarify, so thank you.
Sure. Michael. Michael Warson, are you able to get off mute?
Yeah, sorry about that. Zoom ate my microphone. I just had a question in regards to your MarTech stack, and if there was a defined preference for technologies to be deployed in the build, or if there was something existing, or if that was still open for discovery.
It's all open for discovery. Our current site uses a custom Drupal version. I think it's a product based on Drupal 6, but we are agnostic moving forward. So the best solution for our needs, we would hope that you all would have some input on, and that we would discover that along the way.
And as a follow-up to that, is there a separate discovery process associated with this RFP that would say, hey, we're looking at Drupal or Adobe or Acquia or any of those pieces, or are you looking exclusively for recommendations from the technology partnership?
Yeah, explicitly for your recommendations. Okay. After the discovery and needs assessment, I'm sure certain technologies will seem more appropriate based on your experiences and the work that you all have done. And so those recommendations, of course, are what we're interested in.
Great, thank you very much.
Well, if there are more hands, James.
Hi, James Castle with Brown Musser. Kind of curious to know the interaction with your IT group and how they will work with your project manager as the program progresses and we're digging in. We've had some experience with other counties, and the IT group tends to get very involved. And obviously, this is a bit more of a technical lift, so would love a little more insight on that relationship dynamic.
Yeah, the county's IT group is not involved in this project. So this is a start to finish. We're relying on our partners in this RFP process for all of it. So it's the way it's evolved in the county of San Mateo. The ISD department works on other projects for technology and websites in the county, but not for the health department.
If I say great, will that offend you?
Not at all. Mark.
Thank you. A couple of questions. Anything special on sign-ins? Are you looking for single sign-in? Is there a special county LDAP that we have to work with?
I think for that, we would be open to looking at different options. Right now, we're the site that we currently have, we have permissions on it for those who have registered through us in the communications office. And they use their county email for that, but it's not a single sign-in or Okta or anything like that. We do have a need for there to be different levels of access by permission for administrators and contributors and all of that. And if there were a way to fold it into the county's Okta system, that might be something to look at, but it's not something we've had in the past.
Any specific third-party application integrations that we should be made aware of?
Heather.
Yes. So as I mentioned, what environmental health does is we do a lot of interactions with businesses who are submitting documents and applications and sets of plans, et cetera, and complaints. And we are in the final stages of bringing on a Salesforce platform internally that will have a portal. And in that portal, we'll need a frame and access on our landing page so that businesses can log in through the portal and move information to us. So yes, we are going to need space for that, and we've also got another portal for appointments. Right now, it's not integrated with Salesforce. It's just it's an appointment scheduler that we have running freestanding, but the goal is for that to be integrated into our Salesforce platform at some point in the future. So yes, we do need a spot where we can, I am not at all technical, where we can have an access point to businesses and individuals who do work with us.
Okay, but you're just talking about a quick link to your Salesforce portal from your website, correct?
Yes, but there is going to be logins to your point.
Do you have a portal? Do you have an internal portal for
Yes.
your own users?
Yes.
So it's a website and you want a portal or a link to your portal.
We will need to insert a link to our portal on the website, and that link to the portal will have a sign-in that will send them into the Salesforce platform.
Are there any design elements or updates to your portal that are part of this project?
No.
And my last question has to do with, and I apologize for everyone. My last question has to do with content and ready digital assets. Are you going to be providing all ready content and digital assets?
I think the answer to that is mostly. That is, we have our user groups in the various divisions of the health department who are responsible for content, create the content, and all that's what's on the current website. So in most cases, we in County Health will be supplying the content, and the firm here will be providing the technology, the architecture, the navigation, the workflow, all that sort of thing.
When I talk about digital assets, I'm talking about photography and video. Will you be providing that, or should we be quoting those services as a standalone optional?
We didn't ask for that in the RFP, and that's probably something that if we need, we would look at later.
Thank you very much.
And Michael Warson, I think you're next.
Yeah, I just had a follow-up to the Salesforce portal. Is that, you mentioned that that's in flight currently, or is that actually launched?
No, it's being finalized now, and we'll see it probably in mid-April. Right now, there is already a portal, a very primitive one. If you look around on the environmental health landing page, there's a portal for complaints and records requests. It's crude, but it does link into our existing database, and so we will be replacing that. And then if you were to go to our household hazardous waste landing page, you will see a scheduler, and that will remain. We'll just need to, drop the link and, or create a little space on whatever whatever you create. We need a spot on a page to put that.
But your anticipation is that there wouldn't be any need to touch that scheduler per se. It's just a hyperlink says, here's the scheduler, click, boom, it takes you over there and off it goes into the ether as far as we would be concerned.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Jason.
Yeah, hi, thank you. My question's about the needs assessment part of the project. So there's obviously a lot of users involved in this in different types and different roles. Are you planning on having already identified users that you want to talk to, or would we need to go out and do some recruiting and potentially incentivize some folks?
Yeah, we've got all of those groups already identified. It's a scheduling challenge, of course, but there are approximately 100 users on county health staff who have access to the website. That doesn't mean they all use it all the time. And so probably the heaviest users, the group of people who use the website the most on the back end, probably 30 people or so. But we will need to undertake a sort of series of meetings with all the various groups. It's probably 8 or 10 meetings or so across the different user divisions and groups, and they have differing needs and different experiences and different ways that they touch the technology. So that's really the goal there.
Certainly. And just a quick follow-up on it. What about members of the public in the community? Are they part of the needs assessment as well, or is that separate?
Yeah, not at this point. We didn't ask for that in the RFP. I think probably down the road, once we have a new site built and it's working and we are all comfortable with it, then seeking to refine it based on some community input would probably be a good thing. But for now, we're only able to build what we can build. And if we're trying to get community feedback on a project that is theoretical, that would be very difficult right now.
Thank you.
Praveen.
Yep. Hi, Preston. So I'm representing Agria Solutions. So one of my questions was would there be any subdomains as well that we would have to, consider regarding, when we would be, redesigning or redeveloping? Are there any associated subdomains as well with the main website?
Yeah, you're asking about subdomains to be developed separately?
Yep, that's right.
Your question?
Yep.
We've tended to stay away from subdomains as a function. Everything really is at the top level on smchealth.org.
Okay.
And subdomains, to us, at least in our thinking about it thus far, is really kind of a can of worms, because if every division or group sort of wants a subdomain, then we've got 25 different subdomains, and bringing those back together is more of a challenge. So that wouldn't be something that we'd be looking for.
Okay, got it. And regarding would the website has to be SEO friendly as well? Just curious, so that was another question that I had.
What type of friendly?
SEO friendly.
SEO.
SEO.
Yeah.
Oh, search engine optimization, SEO friendly. Yes, of course. Yes, it would need to adhere to the best practices for search engine optimization, as well as ADA compliance. Our current site, when it was built, followed those standards, and so we would need to maintain them in a new site.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much, Preston.
Sure. And Mark, is your hand still up? Or is that an old hand?
No, it's a new hand. How many monthly hits per page do you get? How many individual user visits per month are you getting?
Yes, it has ranged greatly throughout the pandemic. So before the pandemic, we were getting 25 to 30,000 individual page views per month across the site. At the height of the pandemic in various periods, it was 300,000 to 500,000. And it has settled back now to about 80,000 page views per month. Most of those are COVID pages and environmental health services. We're expecting that to drop off a fair amount as our COVID, online resources shrink a little bit and public interest fades. So I suspect we'll come back down to the 40 or 50,000 per month as a kind of standard.
You may have this in the RFP. I apologize. But how many individual departments are within this organization in the county?
Shrija, I'll let you answer that one.
We have 9 operating divisions of county health, and I can't rattle off real quickly how many other departments across the county, a good dozen of brother or sister or colleague departments that are not part of this procurement. So our site is intended to provide information for those who help us carry out our mission. The businesses that Heather spoke about and community-based organization partners, healthcare organization partners, others who help us serve our safety net and public health functions.
So you're really talking about your site just working with the 9 divisions.
Correct.
And that's why you don't want a multi-site architecture?
Yeah, we're one health department and all of our various divisions, and they subdivide a little bit more. It would be more than 9 sort of content units for the website. It would be many, many more than that. Part of the discovery needs assessment is to begin to address some of those questions.
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay. And I think James, I think you were next.
Great. As we think about designing the look and feel of the site, will we need to account for an existing styled guide and an approach that you've already set for brand standards?
We do. We already have that. So that's easy to work from.
Great. Thank you.
And Patrick, I think you were next.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I was curious to know the approval process at certain inflection points along the build. You have 9 representatives from 9 departments. Is everyone involved in the approval process? Do you expect more rounds than maybe normal? Is there a lot of stakeholders that will be involved?
Well, I think that's a little bit of a moving target. We need to get into the discovery and needs assessment and divide up the meetings in a way that's manageable for the, let's just say, slightly less than 100 folks that might be involved. And after that, really, the needs assessment, the reporting of that, after that process, we would take to the county's health executive council. 3 of us here in this meeting are on that. And that's sort of where we would, I think, get general buy-in and move forward. So it's, but this project really is, it's a communications-led project with senior health department leadership as the folks who are the checks and balances and the oversight and all of that. So I'm not wanting the approval process to be complicated. And we are all trying to arrive at some consistency for the website that has been a bit lacking in the past. So I want to try to keep that as simple as possible, but until we get into it, I don't know that we can say exactly what it, fully what it would look like. Shrija, is that consistent with what you would offer?
Yeah, I think we'd want to design a process based on what we see in the proposals of gathering feedback from the users and bringing forward a set of recommendations that can be, that we can get feedback from our internal executive team and core user groups. We'll be interested to read in your proposals how you would see helping us do that in the most effective and efficient way possible. We do have diverse functions, so it wouldn't be, we are looking to expertise of firms like yours of how do you go about that? How do you synthesize, what you're hearing and learning and knowing about the options that are available to try to lessen how those decision-making challenges could proceed.
Thank you.
And Michael, I think you were next.
Yeah, is this currently a budgeted project, or is it a case of where you're going and kind of doing the sourcing for it and the kind of the investigation and then going to go seek budget? And if it is a budgeted project, is that a number you can share with us?
Yes, the RFP for the way the county's process works is that we've budgeted it up to $199,000 for the 3-year contract.
So $199K over the span of 3 years?
Yes.
Okay.
Jason?
Yes, I was wondering, is there a particular driver for the timing of the project? You know, why this year, not last year or next year?
Great question. The current website was built in 2015 or so, and hasn't had a lot of oversight from my office in terms of how it grew and developed. And the example that I've used a lot is that it's been a community garden. So we opened the space, we put the fence around it, and we gave everybody a shovel and we just let them go to it. And so we really, that can be good or bad, right? So some areas are very well tended and organized and tip top, like environmental health. Others, are a bit overgrown and complicated, and the shade and the soil and everything else is just really not right. And then other areas are just fallow. They were never planted. So we did, want to hire a gardener for the community, and that's Elizabeth here on this call. So now we've got the personnel in place to provide a little more direction and oversight. And then now we're coming out of COVID too. And COVID, of course, raised the profile and the expectations of a health department, and certainly on the online resources. I mean, the idea that a health department, our little health department, is going to get 500,000 hits in a month is just extraordinary to me. So there's a lot riding on the website now. And I think with all of that, our our staff users and the divisions have seen that there are a lot more possibilities for online communication, sharing data, dashboards, things that make us accountable to the public and that help us move our mission, forward. So instead of being reactive to everything, we can now be much more creative and proactive about the materials that we share online and how we develop them, the best practices that we can espouse as a government communicator in the county. We have a long tail of community organizations that work with us, and they respond to the needs of individual communities, and they look to us for leadership and guidance on COVID and other things. And so our being very prominent and very robust in this space is important in terms of our communications, community engagement, advancing health equity, removing barriers to access. Some of those are digital, some of those are related to language. We really want to bring all of this together in the website, and post-COVID with the revelations and the new visibility that we have now seems to be the best time. Michael.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I still just had my hand still up again. I lowered it. Sorry about that.
Sure. And until the next hand comes up, let me just say, in terms of the work that we're looking for, it may be evident from the way we've answered these questions, but the consulting piece, the needs assessment, the discovery, the working with our users, all of that really is the crux for us. The technology, I mean, you all know this. At the end of the day, there are only a handful of platforms, and we know essentially right now what the website would look like, but it needs to work for us. And so how we get there is really the process that we're trying to bring forward, and how we engage our staff users and get them excited about it and seeing the possibilities for it is really important. So we've done things like this in the past, as a county, large projects that involve lots of departments and staff coming together and all that. COVID was a project like that. So this is the next sort of iteration, and we really want to build on the collegiality and the camaraderie and the breaking down of some of our silos that was part of the COVID response, and move that into the digital space and advance our mission in that way. James.
This is an easy one. Are you going to be sending the recording of this session out to all the attendees?
I can certainly do that, yes.
Thank you.
And before the next hand comes up, I'll emphasize another point. Heather at Environmental Health noted that there are some other technologies that are part of her division's work, and how those are integrated into the main website is, of course, what's part of this process through the discovery and needs assessment. Environmental Health has several of those technologies, and some of the other divisions do too. And honestly, from where I sit in communications, I don't really have a sense of what they are, how they work, or how they would integrate. So that's really another piece of this challenge, to sort of have an inventory of other things that can be part of this, and whether they are integrated via a portal or a link, or if there's a more sophisticated way to integrate. That's something that we're looking to discover. And then how we make those visible. I'd said earlier that we really weren't looking for subdomains, but I don't want to take that off the table. That is, if there are these additional technologies that are very specific to a particular need or a public interest, then we want to bring those to the fore in ways that make the most sense. Yep, Jason.
Sure. So you mentioned the number of other technologies that are involved. One of the things that we'd want to hopefully be able to see is there some documentation consolidated around what the overall architecture looks like at the sort of macro scale? Like, here's where Salesforce sits, here's where DocuSign is, or whatever else is connected to the site, or would that be part of the discovery process?
I think that would have to be part of the discovery process. Heather, does Environmental Health have a kind of master sheet of the various other modules?
No, not at all. And really, all of the Salesforce work that I mentioned we just need access to it through the website. We don't, I don't think the website itself needs to be built with any features. We just need to get, have a place for businesses to log on and do their business with us.
Yep, and let me add to that. In the RFP, in the scope of work, is the call for a coordinator or technical advisor for our behavioral health and recovery services division. And they are really one of the more complicated or complex of our user groups for the work that they do. And they have a lot of functions that are public facing or are the contractors that they work with, or they're regulatory, where they have maybe less than public interest for it, but they have other technologies that need to be integrated. And so one of the calls here is that there be somebody dedicated in the firm that wins the contract to oversee that group's participation in it and to dive really into their inventory of technology. They don't have a CIO within that unit. And so that's sort of, or a CTO. So that's sort of what this role would be for the duration of the project, for the inventory and the needs assessment, the technologies that they have. Maybe some are redundant, maybe some could be integrated just by the website alone, maybe others need to be expanded, but that's an open question. And that would be very specific to one of our divisions. Praveen.
Yeah. So, Preston, one of the questions that I had was like regarding the resources actually. So would you prefer like someone, all of the resources to be based from the US itself, or would you guys be open to a hybrid model where the communications are led by you could say the project manager and the scrum masters are from the US and the rest of the developers are from India? So I just wanted to have a clarity on that.
Yeah, I don't think we have a preference necessarily. There will be a need for some in-person work, but we would leave that to your firms to figure out the best way forward.
Okay, got it. And one of the other questions that I had was regarding, you mentioned that, website needs to be ADA compliant, right? It was mentioned in the RFP itself, but I was just wondering, would the website needs to be a HIPAA compliant as well? Because we would have to, sometimes we would have to, you could say, adhere to those laws. So the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. So would that also come into the picture?
Yeah, it's a great question. Our public-facing website right now does not offer any access to any of the other technologies that we have for managing patient information, and we wouldn't expect it to. We have other processes and other technologies that do that, and we wouldn't expect that to integrate with the public website.
Okay, and regarding Salesforce, I just wanted to ask, would you guys be opting for a professional or an enterprise version? Because there are some limitations with those licenses when we're integrating with the main website. So I just want to understand what license you guys would be going with.
Heather?
We've got the main Salesforce licenses for the public services sector, the PSS, and then we've got licenses for a couple of associated applications that are Salesforce compatible.
Okay, got it.
I did want to circle back though on the offshore question, and this is just simply based on our experience. I think the one thing we need to recognize is certainly offshore talent is welcome. We just need to remember that the time difference can be a challenge when setting up meetings and when you're doing discovery, and we can't let that impact the timeline. And so we need to recognize that there's very limited time then that we all can work together, and that's usually between 8 a.m. or 8:30 a.m. and 11 a.m. Tuesday through Thursday, given folks' schedules.
Okay, got it. That makes sense. Thank you.
Ashwani.
Hi, Preston. One thing I just wanted to know, do you guys have any current incumbent or an existing vendor who already does develop your website? The
current website you're asking about? Yes, Digital Deployment based out of Sacramento is the current vendor.
All right, so they are also going to be a part of this?
I don't know. If they apply, are they on this call? They may, I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Thank you. One more question, Preston. You told that the budget is 199K, and that is a firm fixed budget, not to extend for the rest of 2 years?
The RFP is for a 3-year contract. There are some options to extend. So Shrija, maybe you could answer better than I.
It is a not to exceed amount. I think that was the core of your question.
Yes. Thanks, Shrija.
Praveen.
Yeah. So question, until the new website would be live, would the vendor be responsible to maintain the existing website as well, until the new website is live?
Yes, we're not having these two functions commingle. So the current website will stay in its current form until such time as the new website is ready to be switched over to the domain.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Jason. You're still muted.
We can't hear you.
Thank you, mute button. You mentioned the timing as being a factor. Obviously, the 3-year contract, you have a before, at the time before which you would want this thing to be live. Is there any constraint on how quickly you would be able to get something new up? Is it like, hey, we really don't want this thing to go live before X because of contractual or whatever other reasons?
I don't think so, but I also think that this is going to evolve. So we're not expecting that a fully completed, robust, brand new website will turn the lights on and that'll be that. I think just for the way we work and the long tail for this process will mean that we'll have a mostly complete website up, new architecture, new stuff, and all of that. And then we'll, begin to add more and more, and build it out in the following months. So we might have something like when the website launches formally, say, we know that there are pieces that will need to be added and that those will come after. I don't think we want to hold off until we've got everything perfect before we launch a new site. I don't think that's practical.
Got it. So the idea of an incremental release as opposed to a big bang is definitely in the cards.
Yeah, I think we'll want to make a big splash about having a new website. But, part of the challenge with us, this community garden that I've talked about, there's way too much stuff on the current website. And not all of it needs to be there, clearly. And so the new website will be probably much smaller and narrower in scope than what we have now. So we wouldn't want to try to replicate everything that we've got just in a new format. That would defeat the purpose a bit. So a more manageable, more efficient, more useful and user-friendly website really is the goal. And as we see areas of content that need to be expanded or built out, or something like that, then that would be part of the process later on. But we wouldn't allow that to delay the launch.
Thank you.
Any folks who haven't yet asked a question want to raise a hand?
Yeah. Hi, Preston. So regarding the training, I just wanted to ask, would you guys need like a virtual training sessions or the on-site sessions? I was just wondering about that.
Yeah, I think probably a combination of both.
Okay.
With COVID and with some changes to our geographical footprint in the county, we've moved some offices and people have relocated. So we have a hybrid workforce now. Some units are more heavily virtual and others are more heavily in person. So the training and all the other meetings and stuff will be a combination, and it'll just depend on the user group and the day and people's schedules, all of that.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And I'll just reiterate that we really are trying to approach this from a kind of blank slate. That is, we've got a website now, and like I say, it's been a challenge to sort of bring it to fore, and it's overgrown and needs some order to it. But we really don't want the current website to serve as a model for the new website. We want a different way of organizing it, different way of thinking about it. We need the back-end process to be simple and accessible to our staff users who may or may not be sort of technology nerds. That's part of our challenge in getting folks to do this work, because it won't necessarily be their first order of business working on the website. They've got other things that they're doing for their jobs. So that's kind of where we're starting, and things that we can do to streamline and simplify are always going to be valuable to us. Praveen?
Yeah. So Preston, one of the questions that I had was like regarding the technical support, right? So would you guys be taking care of the L1, L2, and like I think so L1 support, technical support will be taken care by your team, or you would expect the vendor to take care of that regarding the all the support after the website is launched?
Yeah, we're part of the RFP is that the vendor is also the hosting party and technical support, for the website.
Okay. And so do you expect like 24/7 technical support, or just during the business hours?
Well, we're a county government agency, and we're a regulatory body, and we are an emergency response function. So that means that at an odd hour, if something bad happens in the county and our website doesn't work, we need absolutely immediate support.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Another thought for me. If you dive into our website, you'll see that a lot of our content is based on PDFs. And this has been an expedient way for our users to post something to the website. And we really, really want to get away from that. PDFs are not ADA compliant, without special attention. Google Translate can't access them. They're hard to read on the phone and all that. And we really want to move to a place where all of our content, or nearly all of our content, is accessible top level, in a web format, where those other functions, the translation and the accessibility, are taken care of. So that's going to be a challenge for us internally, but that's something that we want to make a goal moving forward, that we really get away from posting secondary documents as a way of sharing information. It really needs to be in the primary page itself. And I'll also say with the technology, the current site was designed to be fairly simple and straightforward. That is, there's no animation, there's no flash, things don't move around. Part of that's ADA compliance. But our public, the Medi-Cal population of the county are those who would use our medical and behavioral and other sort of health-related services, don't necessarily have the newest iPhone or a strong internet connection or a desktop computer, all of that. So even though, of course, everyone in the public would have access to our website, we really need to make sure that the site itself, the navigation of it, the look and feel of it, and the technological load that it carries is as light as possible. And if that means we don't take advantage of certain technologies, or we have to do something that's a little more, takes a little longer to build as opposed to buying into some module that works really well on iPhone 14. We really want to keep that as part of our sensibility around the site. That's part of our mission and our core function. Well, if there are no more thoughts, we can bring this meeting to a conclusion. We remain open for questions. I think we had said in the RFP or somewhere in that process that there's a date for us to respond to them. So we will certainly be available for more questions as you have them. There was one discrepancy in the RFP in terms of a deadline. I don't have it right in front of me. Let me call it up just a second, just so someone will ask this question later. Just give me 1 second here. As I'm waiting for this thing to open. If you have it in front of you, it says that questions are due on March 1st at 3:00 p.m. That's on the cover page of the RFP. But later in it, it says that questions are due on March 1st at 1:00 p.m. So we'll certainly take them at the later time. So 3:00 on March 1st for questions due to us is certainly fine. Don't worry about the earlier time there. Okay. Well, I have everyone's email and contact information in the chat, and I will bundle up this video and I will make it available and send out the link to all of you. So I thank you all for your participation and look forward to receiving your RFPs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, President. Have a nice day.
Thank you all.